So hello everybody, please take your seats, and we thank the brave ones that resisted the sleepiness after lunch to come to listen to us to talk about the cost action game table. We are very happy to host this panel because of course a game table is one of the big achievements of the community of the Board Game Studies Colloquium. And we have, you know them, but I will still introduce them because it looks more official this way. So we have with us Eric Piet, which is assistant professor at Université Catholique de Louvain. He's affiliated with the ICT Institute and the Computing Science and Engineering Department. He specializes in game artificial intelligence, focusing on machine learning, explainable artificial intelligence, constraint satisfaction, and knowledge representation and reasonability. Notably, he developed the Woodstock AI player, the reigning international general game playing champion, and co-developed the advanced general game playing system Ludai for the recent concluded ERC-funded digital Ludim project. Eric is also chair of the game table cost action, and which is of course the focus of this panel. Then we have Lisa Rougetet. She's a lecturer and researcher in history of mathematics at the University of, okay, it's in English, so I got completely lost. Université de Bretagne Occidentale, University of Bretagne Occidentale in Brest, France, where she's in charge of the master's degree in epistemology, history of sciences and technique. And her research interests focus on history of games and their mathematical theories, from the first books dedicated to mathematical recreations in the 17th century to nowadays. She's also interested in the use of historical games in mathematics education, since it trains future primary and secondary school teachers in mathematics. We then have Summer Courts, PhD student at the University of Reading in the UK, working on Roman archaeology. She has been publishing on Roman board games since 2019, and she's Game Table Scientific Communication Coordinator. And then finally, we have Walter Christ, lecturer in the Center for Arts in Society at Leiden University. He's an archaeologist specializing in Bronze Age of the Eastern Mediterranean, and he recently documented over 1,000 traditional board games from prehistory to the present day in the Ludi Games database as part of the Digital Ludim project. He is the vice chair of the Game Table Cost Action. And let's welcome all of them with an applause.
Hi, Marco.
Applause ruined, yes.
Walter Christ or Walter Christ?
Chris.
Chris.
So there is one who turns the water into wine, and the other who doesn't. He's the one who doesn't. So Christ, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
I wish I could turn water into wine, but
So do we.
unfortunately, I don't have that talent.
Okay, let's give them an applause anyway, despite the lack of miracles.
We'll see what happens.
Okay, and to start the panel, I will ask Eric. He will tell us a bit more about the Game Table project, and then we can discuss it together.
So hi everyone, we are really happy to have you all here, and you have to understand that this panel is not going to be only a discussion between us, it's also a discussion with us to you. So at any point during this presentation or even after this presentation, if you have any question, comment or anything, feel free to raise your hand and to ask. This is not a question after. Game table, it's an idea which came in the mind of Walter and I during our previous project, the Digital Ludem project, in which we worked on different aspects interdisciplinary between archaeology, history, and AI, which leads to Ludi. But in this project, we were working in a really small group with just 5 people in total. And at the end of the project, we were thinking about it would be really nice if we could work with all of you. So we decided to create, with the help of many of you and also many other people around in Europe and in the world, a cost action. But I'm not sure that everyone knows exactly what is a cost action. So I'm going to start, if that thing is working. Yes, about what is a cost action. So a cost action is not purely a research project, as you probably know on many other research schemes, as Marco explained 2 days ago, like the ERC, the reason, all of that. It's more a research networking project. It's a project in which we try to create open space where people can feel well and can collaborate all together online or in person. In a cost action, we are trying to also collaborate with professional and companies, which means that we are not only with academics. This is really open, and anyone can participate just if you have a legal entity which is reporting you. Even if you are unpaid, if you are just working for an association, if you are working for anything like that, you are welcome, you can apply, and we will love to have you in our cost action. In the cost action, we can cover in reality any kind of expenses which are related to working activities. Yes?
One question about who can participate. Eric, can you specify?
Okay. Sorry for interrupting you, Eric. About who can participate, which are the countries that are allowed to participate in the cost action?
I have a slide on that.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah, we can cover any kind of expenses related to that. I will show you a slide also about which kind of expenses more precisely. And also to jump a bit on the discussion that we have also with Marco and Ilaria on the first day. All different cost actions are also a really good platform to try to get better grant for purely research. You can see there on this scheme, pretty much 37% of the people who are in a cost action have more success rate than people who are outside. Why? Because people can, during multiple years, discuss all together of ID. They can begin to work on some different aspects, which leads in general to good proposal. And this is even better if you look on the ERC. You have, I think it's 45% of success from the people in cost than people outside of cost. So that's a really, really great thing for that. But yeah, you have to keep in mind that we are not paying salaries and we are not paying any kind of equipment. This is really to get a network to work all together, so meeting, workshop, conferences, exhibition, all this kind of thing. Gametable in itself. Gametable in itself, you have a lot of different information here. It's really an interdisciplinary network. You can see different fields like AI, which is my field, computer science, mathematics. You have Lisa, for example. We have George and many others. Economics, archaeology, history, anthropology, education, dissemination, and so on. It's a lot of different fields, which means that most people in the network don't know each other before the network. That's really the goal of COST, to make people know each other. So I know that in BGS, you have a really, really strong community. You know all of you since a long, many, many years. But we have also a lot of other people, including myself, that I will never be aware of you if I didn't work with Walter during the last 5 years. And that is something that we want to fix with COST, because we think that many, many people can use data that you will collect, and we can also help you to improve many, many things in your different challenges in your own research project. Of course, I'm speaking about your field, I'm speaking about mathematics, but that's also the case for other aspects. We have people in sociology, people in human interaction, people in education. All these people are also interested a lot about games, because games have a lot of potential for their own research or their own work. In our work, as I said, we are also welcoming any kind of scholar or any kind of people working in all career stages. That can be young researchers, that can be senior researchers, that can be people who have even no link with research at all, but just think about any kind of idea which can be useful for our project. And yes, like I said before, we are also welcoming industry and heritage institutions. So any kind of museum, for example, are really interesting for us, for all your data, and also to help you to improve your museum. So we have a lot of different goals in this action. You have here the main goals, because we have a lot more than that. Obviously, the first one is to build this famous network that I'm speaking about and to reinforce our link all together, which means to meet in person and also to meet online. We want to inspire new methodologies and develop new applications, which means to create ideas. So you have to see that like that. It's really a hub to create ideas. We want to collaborate through our meetings, events, short mission. We want to teach and learn from each other, because action is also really good to found some training school. This is something I think Walter is going to speak during the panel. We really want to do that, training school on different aspects. We are also offering opportunities for young researchers. We have specific grant scheme for them to help them to go to conference or to work with senior researchers, for example. And one of our goals is also to improve the general inclusivity. I know it's not really a problem, I think, in the archaeological and anthropological field. You have people from political culture, everything. But in my field, it's a huge problem. We have something like 95% of men and just 5% of women, which is a big issue. And that's really, really difficult for us to get women interest in our field. So it's something that we want to improve. And that's also the case in other fields. You have that also in economics. You have that, in education. Some people are saying to me that it's more women than men. So that's also something that we want to improve. And all our events, in all our events, we are trying, we cannot do it perfectly each time, but we are trying to get the best general accessibility as we can. So we are really careful about that. We want also to pave the way with industry institutions, because that's not easy for many of us. Many of us do not know exactly what the industry or the institution will need. So we want to understand their need and also to explain to them what we can do. We want to disseminate our results, opportunities, and challenges. You have here Summer Courts, which is our destination officer. So she will explain, I think, during the panel, which kind of plan we have about that. We also want to facilitate future research on games through the creation of digital tools. If you know me, you know Ludi. With Ludi, I'm really happy to help you to design new games and to analyze them, but you have also many other tools which can be useful and are also part in our action. And we have many experts in AI, because you will see in the different working groups, we have 2 working groups which are around AI, and we have a lot of experts which can help you to understand what they can do for you and also to see if they can give you ideas and potential tools which can help you. And one of our last goals is also to develop pedagogical programs which will use games in their different fields. So, like for example, in AI, more and more we are using games to learn AI to the students, and that is not that good sometimes, and sometimes it's really done really well. But these people who are doing that really well are in their own institution without to speak about what they do. So we are really interested about learning from them to improve that in the other university, for example. I'm speaking about my field, obviously, but I'm sure it's the same thing for many other fields. And yes, we want also to explore funding opportunities. That's why I was really interested about what you said 2 days ago. Is that also why I shut my mouth during that session, because I wanted to speak today about that. So we will speak during the panel. So that is Gametable. And you have to understand that cost forced us to have some kind of structure, because cost is a huge system, a huge platform. So in it, you have 2 chairs, the action chair and the vice chair, so that's Walter and I. Vice chair or action chair, we don't care. In IT, we have the same level of power on the action. We don't care of the vice or not. That is just the first structure of the action. And we have a management committee of 62 people, which are everywhere in Europe. We'll show you that in a map soon, Marco. And inside this management committee, we have all the people who are currently at network. This is 5 working groups. I will explain the different working groups after. And in these different working groups, they have different goals, different ideas in which they will work all together. And they are also to try to work with all the other working groups to try to create interdisciplinary projects which are around different subjects. Under that, you have the core group. The core group is 14 people that I will show you in the next slide. In these 14 people, you have different people which are leading the working group, the chairs and the communication officer and some other people. You have them there. I'm not going to explain the name of each of them. I'm sure you will recognize some of them because I think something like half are coming from BGS community, so you will recognize some. Some that you probably don't know. On the top right, this is 2 really good AI researchers. You have Antonios, which is leading the working group 3. On the working group 1, this is one about AI. So you have Denis, which was also in our project, and Jakub from Poland. And working group 5 is Dorina, I don't know if you know her, from Greece, which is also working for the Ministry of Culture in Greece. Yeah. So we have different people. All these people are pretty much your contacts if you want to know more about some different aspects of our cost action. So that means that they are supposed to be aware of everything. If they don't, they will come to Walter and I. Oh yeah, something I have to say. All the money that you could receive from cost is currently hosted in my institution, in UC Louvain, so I have to mention it. And if you are participating in any of our events, you will have to contact Anne-Christine Baudouin, which is at the bottom left. She is the person in charge of all the reimbursement and all the administrative aspects of action, so it's good to know her name if you want any money from your participation. How many are we? Thanks to Alex from this morning, we are 201. No, we were 200 this morning. In 5 working groups, so this is kind of an accomplishment because we said with Walter at the start that we wanted to be 200 after 4 years because it's the time of the action. And after only 6 months, we are already more than 200, so that's great. We are, as I said, 62 MC members and 14 core group members. And you can see the different name of the working group and the different members which are inside, or the number of members which are inside. The first working group is a game playing AI. It's I will explain more about it, but it's a working group specified on the game AI side to make AI playing games, so not to study them, but really to play the games. Working group 2, cultural heritage of games. Walter will speak a bit more about it, but I'm sure you all understand that. It's a subject of BGS, one of the best subjects of BGS. Working group 3 is procedural content generation. Pretty much, just to sum up it in one sentence, AI to create games. Okay. Working group 4, mathematics in games, but also games in mathematics, if I don't say, yeah, because Lisa corrects me really often. So that's pretty much the mathematics which are inside the games and also how games can be used to study mathematics. And the last one is implementation, dissemination, and education, which is the biggest group. This is the one in which most people want to learn more about how to use game for educate and also to disseminate the results. And also implementation, because it's also kind of the mix of the other 4 working group. This is where we will develop our different tools and software from the result of the 4 others. Marco, that's for you. The different cost countries. So you have here all the list of the different cost countries. So it's 42 currently. In the action, you have all the blue ones. So we have 38 cost countries which are already represented in the action, which means that we have at least 1 MC members. But we are still missing 4. And just to give you an idea why this is important for us, more country we have in our action, more money we will get from cost, and we love all money. So if you know anyone in Luxembourg, Latvia, Moldova, or Georgia, we are super interested because we tried and it's hard. Yep. These 4 are really hard. So if you know anyone, we are interested in any fields related to games. So that is for Europe, but I'm not forgetting you, Alex. I'm not forgetting all the others which are not in Europe. We are not only in Europe. Yeah. We are also in the world. We have 11 international partners outside of Europe. You have the list there. And we are also missing a lot of countries, as you can see. And we are also interested about getting more, once again, for more money, but also because we would like people, experts in this different place, to give us more data. I know that this is sometimes a mess for Walter because he speaks with me a lot about that. But I don't speak Chinese, I don't speak Japanese, and I'm annoying him a lot about I don't have the rules of that game, for example. But that's also the case for many other countries. So yeah, again, if you know other people in these other countries, we are interested about getting their contact and speak with them. That is the first in-person event which happened in Leiden, in the Netherlands, in the end of January. That was a success. We invited different people, so we got 58 people who participate to it. And so you have a picture of them here. They are not all there because some people already left or some people came later, but you have most of them. You should recognize some of them because something like a third are probably coming from the BGS community, the others from other fields. You have also people who had previously no link at all with all the different other people in our community, which is exactly the goal of what we try to do, to get people who did not know us. By us, I mean my field, Game AI, I mean your field in cultural heritage and all the other fields. So we are really happy about that. And during that day, which was these 2 days, we had different talks, and some of the talks were about fundamentals in cultural heritage, mathematics in games, and game AI. So that's really like the basic about what you should know or be aware of on these different fields, because they are the main fields represented in the action. Walter and Denise also spoke about case studies that we worked during the Digital Ludem project, just as example of what we could do. We had also a lot of discussion and debates about many different ideas, and also how we want to organize all of us during the next 4 years. And that leads to a publication in ICGA journal in which you can get all the different summary of all the different aspects that we discussed during that kickoff. After that, I don't know if I'm going into the details or if I'll let all of you speak about that. Maybe I will speak about that one and you will. Okay, great. So I have 5 more slides. The first slide is working group 1. I will let you read a little bit because it's about AI. So, like I said, is game playing AI, okay? Which means that we focus not on making an AI playing one specific games as many researchers did in the past. We are more working on a field called the general game playing, which is my field since more than 10 years, in which we try to make AI able to play to any kind of games that we give in entry to an AI. So we give to the AI only the rules of the game in one formalism and nothing else. No data, no help by human, anything else, nothing else. And just based on that, our AI are trying to play them. That is something that we do pretty well since the beginning of general game playing is in the 60s, but Stanford makes that better in the beginning of the 2000. So we have good AI who are able to win the game. But that is an issue. That is an issue because when I work with Walter, we discuss a lot about the fact that the AI are really far from what the humans are doing. You are not playing games only to win it. You're also playing for many of other reasons. That can be simply for the fun. That can be for religious purposes. That can be for just passing some time on it. Bref, anyway, you have a lot of different ways to play the games. So one of the topics which are really interest us in AI, in game AI at least, is to create human-like game-playing AI. And for that, to jump a bit on what you said, Alex, we need all of you in reality because we need data. Data is something which is super expensive and really hard to get. And you have all this data because you have record of previous player playing some games. Like in chess, I discussed that a lot with Walter. You have a lot of different records of all chess games played by champions, and this is exactly what we need. But that is coming from some of our ideas. But I'm sure that you would love to have in some games that you are studying in your own field, AI able to play them, to simulate their play, and maybe be able to get more analyzed done automatically by this AI. So we need the data that we will collect. That is something that the working group one is waiting a lot for that, and Walter will have some meeting about that with some people in working group 2 to speak about how we can collect this data. We are also interested a lot about imperfect information games. So this is games in which we don't know all the information on the games, like card games, for example. Why? Because during the last 20 years, we focused on the other side, on the games in which we know everything about the board and the players. So we are trying to make general AI about this aspect. Currently, they are not great. So we are working on that aspect. And the last one is explainable search and reinforcement learning in games. That is easy to understand. Most of the good AI are pretty much a black box. So that means that we have AI able to play the games, but we don't know why they play that move. And so we are trying to make methods able to understand why they exactly make that move. And by this why, this is not like a computer science explanation. We don't want like a big graph. We don't want like binary explanation. We want something that a human can just read and understand. So that is work in which we are working in this working group. And we also want to work with others, so from the other working group, about their problem and how they can use what we can already do right now to help them. That's why this working group is also really open to any kind of communication from the others. So if you have any wish related to AI, you can contact the leader of the working group one, which is not me, but you can contact me, is Denis Summers and Jakub Kowalski, but you can find them on the website. We'll have the link a bit later. Walter, I will let you speak about the next one.
Yeah, so Working Group 2 focuses on the cultural heritage of games, and that is from any kind of perspective that you can imagine that would be relevant to that. So Tim, Penn, and I are the co-leaders, and we're both archaeologists, but we also have lots of people from other kinds of disciplines, history, anthropology, museum studies, what have you, people who are just interested in games. We're focusing on, one of our main goals is to collaborate with Working Group 1 to find out these ways that we can get AI to play in a more human way so that we can study games with AI simulation a little bit more accurately, I guess. Yeah, because some of the reasons that Eric was explaining, that AIs play to win. People play to have fun, to be social. They stop playing when they get bored. These are things that AI doesn't do. AI doesn't get bored. AI doesn't care what the other player thinks. So we're figuring out ways to do these things so that we can, if we want to measure gameplay with AI, that it does so in a more human-like manner. And so we're going to explore ways that we can do this. What else do you have on the slide here?
It's your slide.
Yeah, I didn't make it.
You did.
One of our major, so when we were working on the digital looting project, one of the major outputs of that was the Looty Games database, where basically I did historiography of traditional games from around the world, from 3000 to BCE till today, to document what it is that we actually know about these games from the original sources that documented them, whether that's the artifacts that were found, texts that talk about this game, artistic representations, or ethnographic accounts of people playing these games. And that was used as the base to create the games in Looty software, but also my sort of ulterior motive in creating that was to create a resource for people who want to research these games to be able to go there, find the sources. You can go there if it's digitally available. The sources are linked to that digital version, or to WorldCat, which is a tool that will tell you what library the source is in. So this was it was a big undertaking, and we have over 1,050 games in it, but it is a limited sample, even with that many, because it's based on what I can do. So I can read sources in a variety of different European languages to various degrees, like Eric said, and I am not able to read sources in East Asian languages or Arabic, or I can struggle through something in Cyrillic. But there are some big gaps in our knowledge, which is very focused on sources that are in Western European languages. And so building a network and getting people that have knowledge of these other languages and other resources can help us to continue to build this and to create a more comprehensive database that can be used for people and useful for people to do research. And so that is one of the major goals that we have for Working Group 2, is to improve not only the scope of what's in the database, but also how it is presented, because the way that we built it for the digital looting project was in a very functional way to make the Looty software work. But my idea is that we want to kind of refocus it to have a more cultural heritage focus, so that it can be used as a resource for that, while still making Looty functional. So yeah, we want to explore ideas and ways to do this, and that includes things like improving and training people on how to document games well. One of our ideas for coming years, at least starting next year, is to do training schools, which is one of the mechanisms COST allows us to do, for documenting graffiti games at archaeological sites. And we're working with Barbara Carré, who many of you know. She's an archaeologist who works in Greece, and she's developing a project to document graffiti games in Athens. And so we want to collaborate on that, and potentially in future years as well. So our meeting is going to be actually next week in Cappadocia in Turkey, where we will actually start to develop what these ideas are, what we actually want to do, and what people's expertise are, so that we can continue to move forward with this. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. The third one. The third one is a bit harder for me to explain, because it's about AI, but it's AI to generate new games, generate rule sets, generate reconstruction of games, which is not directly my field. So I will do my best. This is led by Antonios Lapis, which is from Malta, in which we had the in-person event at the end of March. And this is an expert on that specific field, on procedural content generation, to try to generate new games or new rule sets which are artistic for video games. This is pretty much his field. What we want to do as working group is to try to see if we could reuse technologies, idea, approach, algorithm, which were done for video games, but for board games on different purposes. Because for board games, you have some kind of work which were done, but they were never really studied a lot. They are not really, really great. So Antonios contacted us at the beginning, explaining to us that it would be possible to do that. But once again, when we discussed with him, he said that he would love to do that only if people are interested about generating games of that kind. And one of the topics, which was also part of the Digital Rhythm project, was to reconstruct the missing rules of incompleting games, traditional games in general. And that is one of the things that they are going to try to do in that working group, to generate reconstructions of these games with techniques which are inside. Once again, Antonios is really clear about that. He really would like you, if you are interested about this aspect in your work, to contact him, to contact the Working Group 3, to discuss with him about that. He also wants to focus on the generation of new quality games, which means more modern games, based on all the different data that he can get, and also puzzles from games, from board games, for example. That are different aspects in which you want to work. After that, you have to think about what we could generate with that. According to what I understood, he can generate the games himself. It's possible to generate the full rules, the board, and all the different aspects. But he can also be focused on one specific aspect. If you want to generate like nice artistic pieces, that is something they do in video games, so they can also do it for board games. They can also be focused only on the equipment. For example, if you want to generate a game played on a board which was never played before, that is something which could be possible also in this working group. They want also to generate some kind of original rules. For example, how to combine automatically different rules from games which were never combined before. That can also be interesting for them. And they are also thinking about generating expansion of existing games in pretty much using what we call genetic algorithms to try to evolve the game to other aspects of these games until we find something interesting to get variant of that one. And I'm not going to speak too much about the how, but this is based on search-based and large language model based. Just for the one who doesn't know, large language model is pretty much what is beyond ChatGPT. Okay, so this is some stuff that they are using in their field to do that. So I cannot speak too much about this aspect; it's not my field. But this is the most information I can give you today. If you are interested about this aspect, again, Antonios Lapis will be your guy. The next one, working group 4. Up, Lisa, if you want.
This group is entitled Mathematics in Games, but could also be Games in Mathematics, because we wish to explore this both sides. So I will try to give you an example. Mathematics in games, it would be to see how, let's say, classic mathematics are used to understand games or to find the strategy or even to create game. There are some games which are commercialized nowadays, which are designed on mathematics. There are mathematics behind. So basically, it's to see how, for example, topology, number theory, graph theory is used to understand games and to provide strategies, for example, a better understanding of game. And the other way around is more from a historical point of view, is to see how, through history, games were used to perhaps develop new mathematics. This is a part of what I used to do in my PhD thesis, and to see how an entire field, mathematical field, was created on combinatorial games, for example. But of course, it's not the main focus on that, and we are really open to all kinds of mathematics. So as you can see on the slide, there will be a large place for history of that, because I think it's important and it helps to make connection with Working Group 2, for example, and also an important part for education and dissemination, which leads, of course, with Working Group 5. So what have we done so far? We started this in event person in mid-March in Aveiro, so it was in Portugal. You can recognize as well some of you are in this room. And so it was more an event to break the ice and to help people to start to talk to each other, because it appears that mathematicians, are quite shy to say that they don't know or they don't understand something, or they're kind of secret about what they're doing, and it's kind of hard to make the mathematics mix. So, for example, you have really specific things in topology which will be completely different in graph theory, and how does these people could find a common language or a common dialogue on some games. So this was the first event, and we started as well like a monthly webinar. So one day per month we have a webinar online, and someone presents something and specifically present what he would like to do among this working group. So what is the main subject he's tackling, and what are his questions, and what he would like to do among this group. So the first seminar was really interesting because it was from someone who is a mathematician, of course, but has no real connection with games, and was wondering how his own work in mathematics could be used among, well, on a specific game or on games. So it was really, really interesting, and I think it could be the start of a nice interaction between people.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Okay. And the last one, the last working group, is the 5-1. So you can see different points on it. You have so 3 main points: implementation, dissemination, and education. For the implementation side, it didn't start for the moment because the goal is really to coordinate the development of a new kind of general game system, which will be the most user-friendly as possible. But for that, we need to discuss with you. You need to understand exactly what are our needs, how you want to do that. And by user-friendly, means something which is kind of ludiversion without the fact that you have to implement yourself the rules. But for example, you could use like a graphical user interface to say, okay, I want a square board, I want this board to have some kind of triangle at the top, I want all these aspects. And at some point, we will have some graphical way also to let you make some rules, to let you define all of that. And if you have no knowledge at all about computer sciences, no time also to learn any kind of language, which is for example the Ludi language, that could be possible with that. That is a long project because it's super hard to understand how to make something which is user-friendly. So this is something in which I'm going, and I'm sure other people in the different working group will speak with all of you through the network to understand what are your needs, what you don't like in it, and all these aspects. We also want to produce internationally scientific papers in cooperation with all the working group. This aspect already start a little bit because we have people working on some ideas in our working group, and they try to collaborate all together. But you have also example of me and Walter, for example, me and Lisa, in which we collaborate in that direction. For the dissemination aspect, maybe you want to speak a bit about it, Samar?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I won't go over the really, really boring stuff. Any group of academics is going to try to write journal articles. We're going to go to conferences. We're going to try to write books. That's a given. As we're at a pretty early stage in Gametable still, we are still coming up with ideas, what we want to do for dissemination. Obviously, we're going to have, as is on the slide, a final conference, which we're all very excited for. And we hope that some of you here will present in. As always, come please join us. Come tell us things that we don't know. We do have social media, and we'll get to that in a later slide. That is currently mostly advertisements and really exciting cat gifts because I'm in charge of it, which might have been an oversight from the managing committee. The big, I think, working group 5 outtake that I'm involved with and hopefully will continue to be involved with are hosted, downloadable, permanent resources for schools, for museums, and my own little pet project that Dorina, the lead for Working Group 5, has agreed to entertain is content for the elderly, specifically those in care homes which don't have the access to social outreach that we might have or that school children might have. This is something that I think, and has been highlighted throughout this conference, is a little bit lacking in game studies. We all focus on school children, university children occasionally. We stop. The minute someone is considered removed from society because of their age, they are no longer included. That's something that I'm really hoping throughout the project we can target to address. Can we make this something that is not only play chess? We don't want to dig into those stereotypes, but we want to make something fun for people to use that can connect them with their grandchildren, with their visitors, and with the wider world. This is something that I think the University of Reading is going to start piloting using our own museum. We're in early talks on that with our education outreach coordinator, and it looks like we have got some early agreements to bring some local visitors in to try. We're going to try to do some ancient games, some modern games, and maybe even with some of our lovely people from this conference and make your own games. We'll see what we can do. But that is one of our major outtakes. We also have a YouTube channel, which right now our mathematics team is populating at a prodigious rate, but that we are hosting videos and talks for those of you who leave here today and go, you know what, I haven't heard a talk on board games. in a few weeks, or I haven't heard talk of mathematics or AI in games in a few weeks, maybe I'll watch one. And that we are promoting via social media, so that is available to everyone for free. As we continue, I expect that we're going to come up with more of this digitally hosted outreach materials. That is the way forward, I think. But we are still early days, so if you do join and have ideas on what you would like to see, materials that you would like to create, the ways you want to bridge that gap between all of us sitting in a room researching and the wider public, please, please email us, come to Working Group 5, tell us every possible thing you can think of, and we will do our very, very best to make it happen.
Great. And the last point is education. So education, we already speak a little bit about it, but yes, we want to have first education between us, in reality, including training schools and meetings in which we can learn from each other, but also to use games as a way to connect heritage education and game-based learning in all the different fields that we have to teach to the different students that we can get, and also potentially to kids. For example, one of the things that I discussed with Dorina was, for example, to create some booklets or some tools that the secondary teachers in secondary school could use to train the different students based on games. We also want to create, that is more at the end of our cost action, a digital exhibition in which we will show different applications of the use of AI in traditional games to study them and to kind of educate the public in general about what we can do and what is true compared to what they are currently thinking about the history of games, for example, and also about how AI can help in these different aspects. In our original plan, it was not supposed to have an in-person event for this working group, because this working group is more waiting for results from the other working group. But since a few weeks now, I managed to discuss with Cost to get an extension of money for this year. And I'm happy to say to you that we get 30K more for this year. So thanks to that, we will be able to have an event in Greece around October, pretty much at the end of our first grant period that I will show you after. So I don't have the details about the date and the exact place in Greece, but yeah, Dorina is from there, so she will be able to get some place really nice for us to host us. I can tell you that will be an event of 2 days in which we will focus on all these different aspects, and we will also use this moment to have kind of conclusion of the first year and how what different things that we did and how we were able to work well or not on some aspect. So that will be at the end, and I will just finish with 2 small slides, exactly what we can fund with cost. We can reimburse the people coming to our meetings and to the training schools that we are hosting through Gametable. For the ones from you who already participate to some, this is pretty nice in terms of money, because you have a daily allowance which is based on the countries where you go, which is pretty huge compared to the money that we have to spend, so that's nice. We reimburse also any kind of travel, which are more than 100 kilometers. And for the people which are outside of Europe, in the rules, of course, are saying that we can invite you only once during the 4 years, except if you are trainers. If you are trainers in training school, this is unlimited. So Alex, if you want to be a trainer, be welcome. For the grants, we have different grants that I can speak more. I have slides which are after the end if you are interested about that. The STSM that you see on the left is short-term scientific mission, is to let people go to another institution, another place to do any kind of scientific mission. We are really open on the subject. The pretty much only thing that you need is to write an application, obviously, that in the core group we will look at it, and also to have a letter from someone there who can invite you. If you have these 2 different aspects, the rest will be easy to get. This is 4K maximum for one STSM, and STSM has to be, I think, is minimum of 5 days to 90 days, except if you are young, is 180 days. something like that. That is just administrative rules. We have also virtual mobility, which is to organize events online. We can pay for that if you need some kind of tools to run something on these different aspects. And the two in orange are to go to conference. The one on the right, the dissemination conference, is really open, is to go to any kind of conference in which you will speak about the action. Like, for example, right now, Lisa Sommer, Walter, and I are on a dissemination grant. We are paid from Gametable to come here and to speak to you about Gametable. But that also, if you write a paper in which you acknowledge Gametable, we can help you to go to that conference, and this is 2K maximum. So it can be anywhere on the world, and this is not only in Europe, and if you can go anywhere, this is fine. ITC is really similar dissemination grants, but is specific to what they call the, don't remember. Thank you. Which are a list of countries in the 42 that you saw before, which can get that grant and not the others. That is one criteria. Second criteria, you need to be young, and young for cost means under 40 years old. So, for example, I'm young, Walter is not, which is really weird. Which is really weird, but yeah, that's the rules. But that's a better way to get money. We have specific money for that. So if you come from this country and you are young, apply to that. We will be happy to help you to go to conference. And for that thing, you don't need to work around Gametable. There can be any kind of work in which we agree to send you. There is no specific rules about that. For all what is at the right, this is a bit less interesting for you because it's more related to what we do. This is, for example, if we want to create a website, and we want a company to do that for us, we can pay that. For the current website that we have, I did it, do not pay it. So we save money for you in reality. But in reality, we were able also to pay a company to do it. We can also pay for communication products. If you want to rent some camera, if you want to rent some microphone, or that kind of aspect, we can do it. And yeah, the rest is less interesting, but this is administrative aspect that we can pay with that. That is like the classical scheme in costs. In reality, sometimes if you have an idea, come to me. I can discuss a bit with costs to explain to them, okay, we have a different kind of project. For example, I know some people in the action who are interested about some help, some money help to write some book, for example, to publish in specific big issue like nature or science. These kind of things cost love. Even if this is not in their scheme, you come to me, I will speak with them, and we can manage it. That is possible. So in terms of money, you have here the 4 grant periods. This is our works cost. So they split our 4 years in this 4 grant period. The first one, we are in it. That started the 1st November of last year, and that will be until the last day of October of this year. The first budget was fixed for all the new cost action, 125K. Now, thanks to the small exchange that I get with them, is 155K, so that's nice. We are the only one to get more money because cost is happy about how we grow so quickly, and they want to help us more. Pretty much this is that. But for the 3 others, the money depends on the number of countries which are parts of the action, like I said, depends on how much we spend. So if we don't spend everything, they will get us less. Translation to that, please send your grant, come to our event and spend it. We still have a lot of money for this year, so feel free to ask us stuff. And other aspect, like if we are a country which are in a specific listing cost, like for example, I have to remember this name, South Africa, things like that.
Yeah, we also have these near neighbor countries that weren't shown on your map, which is basically the countries in North Africa and in West Asia, also Russia and Belarus, but I don't know about whether they're actually accepting those these days.
Yeah.
But where they basically, the people from those countries don't have representation in the management committee, but they have all of the access to all of the funding, and they're also encouraged to. We're also encouraged to include those countries in the funding scheme. So the more countries that we have represented in cost, whether in the normal cost countries, but also those neighboring ones, the more that are represented, the more money we get.
Exactly. So that was just to put all of you on the same page than us, so you know pretty much something than us. And now we want this panel to be a discussion between us, with you, about all different aspects that we can think of. You have a lot of QR code here. The one in the middle is to go to our website. So that's the one in which you will find all the information of the past information and the future information. And you have all the different channels that Summer talked about, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We are on all of them. feel free to scan them. And from now, we will start the panel, the real panel, in which we will discuss all together.
Thank you. We should have around 1 hour to discuss, so I think we can go through many questions. But maybe I can start asking a question to the four of you. So while there is some overlapping, I also have a bit the feeling that the four working groups are fairly different, let's say, in terms of disciplinarity. So how do you make sure that they talk to each other? What are your ideas, strategies, or are you throwing parties in which everybody meets? How do you make these people talk to each other and work together, if possible?
Well, so far, we've had, over some of the meetings, we've had people who were not part of the working group attending that working group meeting. So we had, for working group 1, I go as the vice chair, so I'm going to the AI ones no matter what. We also had like Jean-Emmanuel Barbier, who went to that, and some other people who are mainly working group 2, working group 5 focused, who were attending the AI meeting to learn about that. And we invited one of the AI scholars to come to the working group 2 meeting, who we learned from that meeting was particularly interested in exploring some of the cultural heritage issues and how to explore how to make human-like AI using input from those scholars. So we are also kind of in a mode of feeling things out, because okay, who is going to be engaged at what level with this? Who wants this as a line on their CV and who wants to actually do something. So we are kind of in the process of figuring that out and bringing people to these events.
I think we could add that that people are involved in different groups. I mean, you don't have to pick one group and stay in that group. So this is basically quite interesting as well, because you have one person who has like competencies in different groups, and he can even be like a bridge between the groups. So this is one point. And the second point that perhaps we want to say more is that we have this collaborative platform, Discord, and actually everyone can read the information on everyone's group. So if you want to stay in touch of what the working group 3 or 5 is doing, then you can, and you can collaborate as well. So you can really be up to date with what is going on in the cost action.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, you can join the Discord once you join the cost action. If you decide to, that's an email to me, and I will send you a magic link. And for those of you who are not familiar with Discord, also a really good article on how to join from Business Insider, which I found during the course of this. If you want to get hold of Eric at any time, Discord is the way, but he will also hunt you down with it. So that's how we're getting people involved. We have a channel for every working group. We have some other discussion channels. They're really active. I mean, horrifyingly active for someone who doesn't use Discord very often. And now it pops up on my laptop when I'm trying to teach or something. So I've learned my lesson there. But that is a really, really good way to immediately get a response from someone in that working group. There's always someone active in it. Especially on the AI and mathematics side, they really, really love it. So if you are cultural heritage and you have an AI question or a mathematics question, if you wanted to put it in that Discord chat, I think you'd probably have an answer by end of day at the very latest, no matter when you put it in. It is a really nice community that is really well managed and really friendly and really collaborative and really helpful. So if that's something you're interested in, please do give us a join, shoot me an email.
On the cultural heritage side, I'm using the cultural heritage channel to forward new research that I come across on. So I just the other day posted an article I found about a new article from a scholar who's found some graffiti games in Hong Kong and Macau, which was really interesting. So if you want to also be connected to new research in these areas, that's one way to do it. Another thing that we should point out is that your membership, if you want to join and want to join a working group, you don't necessarily have to just join the working group that you are an expert in. If you have interest in one of the other working groups and want to know, you are welcome to join them and be involved in the meetings. We also have, I think all of our meetings we have had online. So while we do get quite a lot of money to do this, we don't have enough money to invite everybody to go. So So they're virtual meetings, and because we're used to that nowadays, and anybody can join. You don't have to be a member of that working group to go to that working group's meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you something which is probably obvious, but I just forgot it. If you want to join the cost action and you are not on it right now, if you go to our main website, you will have a big link saying like, apply. Just click on it, okay? And after that, they will ask you to fill a form on the cost website that I will receive. And you will receive after that, like I said, a nightmare, a lot of month of mail from me saying, okay, follow
Don't
us.
tell them that, they won't join.
Yeah, no, I want to be honest. And yeah, but this is the goal is really to keep you aware about what happened in the action. Also to potentially invite you to some different events, which is not always on my end. This is mostly in the end of the working group leader, so that's something that Walter and I wanted really to do at the start. We don't want all the power at all. We want to give the power to the people who know things. So yeah, that's why, for example, Lisa and Thiago too are the leader of working group 4, etc. for the others, and we don't want to lead that. We are just there to help you to connect. So we really have to keep that in mind. That's why when you ask how we keep the others aware about the work, is really about this kind of connection. We put people together to work together, to discuss together, to comment. And when sometimes it's harder, you will see Walter in a lot of AI events and me in historical events to try to understand what happens to the others and to communicate to this other community to make possible to work together. And currently, as you said, yes, the different working groups are really specific to some subfield which are inside game in reality. But we have also in mind, when we have more money, to get, like, if we can, maybe 2 events by year for each working group, one more specific and one more open. Which means that, for example, it would be possible in an AI side to invite like 10 from BGS if they want to know more about AI, to learn about that. In our training school, we will also have people coming from fields which are not the field of the teacher to try to understand how that works. So that just depends on the topic, obviously, but this is something which is super important for us and that costs a lot also, so we follow what they want.
Yeah, for instance, one thing that we could do, we haven't talked about this yet, but it just came to my mind, like we could do an event that was focused on human-like play, and we could have some AI people, and we could have some archaeologists, anthropologists, psychologists, people who know about this, and have them talk to each other. Because one of the things that came about in the Working Group 1 meeting is that they were like, okay, well, we don't actually know how humans play. We don't know what kind of data people are gathering. We don't know what kind of data is out there that they could use. So these are the kinds of conversations that we need to figure out what needs to happen and then figure out how to make it happen.
Thank you. And as you were mentioning the big apply button, your phone
I should just leave it there.
keeps running away. As you were mentioning the big apply button, I would imagine that people that are not familiar with cost actions, before clicking, they might wonder, how much work do I have to put in if I apply, right? And if I become a member. So what kind of workload is expected and how much, how little and how much people can contribute to the cost action?
I'm receiving a lot of mail with that exact question. And my answer is always the same. That's easy. It's 3 forms. 1 form about who you are, 1 form about why you apply, and 1 form about how you expect to contribute somehow to the different topics which are inside the action. That's really short. You can, even if we already know you, for example, if you know like one of us and we don't know your name, honestly, we will even not read what you write because we know you. So we will accept you directly. So for you, in general, this is easy. But if you know people that don't know us or don't know the community or that aspect, we will need to read them. And after, we will assess the form to be sure that we are not accepting people which are no link with us. As example, for example, we recently had some kind of dentists who applied to us. I have someone working in medicine, which have no link at all with games. I have someone working in a nuclear weapon. Okay, why not? But no. So that kind of filter is me and Walter and some others. But we really, really want to be open. So even if we not completely understand what you do, we let you enter the network, and after, if you are really motivated, you will discuss with the right people to explain how much you can contribute, and yeah, be welcome after that. And
or even if you don't have any specific skills on games and you want to discover more, and that perhaps what you're doing with this, which is not connected with games, can be at some point be connected with games. So
yeah, it's a really low bar that some people don't clear. Like we at least send an application that wasn't obviously ChatGPT and at least says something about games, right? Because a lot of people will try to join a cost action, as I mentioned, to like just have a line on their CV, and don't read or know anything about what it's going to be. And it's clear that they're just sending it to all of them in hopes that someone's going to accept them. Part of the goal of this is to get new people even to start studying games, and particularly from the cultural heritage side of those countries in the eastern part of Europe where we don't have a lot of data because of the history of research. We're trying, if we just have archaeologists who say, oh yeah, I have a game in my museum, or I'm interested in games or something, yes, absolutely, join. And then once you join, your level of engagement is really up to you. You can just be there to receive the news about what we're doing and learn some stuff about games, or you can actively develop projects and become really, really involved. So it's up to what you want to do with it.
I would add to that, after all the negatives there, once you've joined, yes, your level of interaction is up to you, but I guarantee every single one of you has something that you know that no one else in our action knows. So if you go to one event and have one coffee with someone and have a chat, that's contributing in a meaningful way to the action, and you're making those same contacts. So it is something that even if you don't have a paper in mind or a grand research topic in mind, join us, come chat with us, meet someone, learn something, and share some knowledge. That is really the basic building block that we're trying to accomplish, and every single one of you can contribute to that meaningfully and easily.
Okay, so maybe the next thing I wanted to ask, I was counting the months as time flies, and we're already at half of the first grant period, right? So Eric already said some of the things that you've been doing, but would you like to elaborate of how were these first 6 months? Are you happy how it's going? What did you do? And maybe what you're planning to do in the next half year in this period?
Yeah, I mean, it's been going well. Like I kind of said before, we're learning who people are, and because we have a lot of new people that none of us had met before, so we're trying to figure out, okay, what do people want to do? Where is the expertise? And I think we've already had some in the working group 1 meeting. We've already had, even though the meeting was really much, the conclusion was, okay, we don't know how to proceed to develop human-like AI in the ways that we might want it as cultural heritage people. That was already, okay, that's something we need to work on. We already identified something that we needed to work on. At the kickoff meeting, I kind of started to develop this idea with Barbara about the training school in Athens. So we're already developing ideas for what needs to be done and what can be done, what we can do within the context of this funding scheme, which is a little bit different from what everybody else is kind of used to. So so we're making progress and we're identifying things to do. Yeah.
For outputs, we've already had a journal article. We've had a journalist contact us to write up something for their local media. We are identifying target audiences, which sounds easy, but is actually shockingly difficult. And we've come a long way on that. So for the first 6 months of figuring out who is who and what we want to do and how we're going to accomplish it, to have publication, to have journalism interested, to have social media launched, a website launched, to have target audiences identified, and some of our members already pursuing the next publication, the next project. I think we're really off to a running start.
Yeah, we in our different plans, because you spoke about what we currently did, so we identify the needs and we try to understand them to make a better plan. One of the things that I want to say to you, because I'm saying that to all people who speak about Gametable, is I spoke about money. We have money, we have to spend it, and all that. But we can spend that money only if you have ideas, if you want to do stuff, which means that we need you, really. And the grant scheme that we have right now is one of really a short goal. We really want all of you to kind of be able to go to places in which you can do things. So I cannot speak for you, obviously, but any kind of ideas which can help you in your research, if you sell it a little bit to us, I'm pretty sure we will say yes, because we have the money for that. So we are welcoming a lot of different STSM grants. This is the one in which we'll get more money to do stuff. We try to prioritize the young people. Obviously, we have more difficulty to get money to go to places, but right now we are open. So,
Maybe you can say something about the two that we've already funded.
We are. Maybe you want to speak about the first one, Milos?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That one example was for Working Group 4. Actually, it was a mathematician from Serbia, and he went in another country. I don't remember. Okay, you know, to visit another colleague, and they started a collaborative work that will have impact for the cost action. So it will be, and then he gave a talk in Aveiro, reporting what he did with his colleague, and it was the start of a work. So it was really interesting to share the ideas.
And that will lead also to our report, which is going to be on our website soon. He's writing it right now. I should receive it pretty soon. And he explained to me by email that apparently he got some results from this STSM, and he's going to try to write a paper on a big conference. So that's really nice. Just to explain that using that is nice.
But that's another thing, though, is that this was funded just for him to go and have this conversation with these other scholars. It doesn't have to necessarily lead to a tangible publication or something like that. It can be just go somewhere to learn something from somebody that is an expert in something. So it's really flexible in that way. You have to send a report to us for cost purposes, but it's not like a formal publication that needs to come out.
Yeah, and the second STSM is my PhD right now. A PhD student working with me is currently in Maastricht, is where we come from, before our current position, I mean, with the Digital Rhythm project. And he's currently working with Denis Summers, the leader of the Working Group 1, because he's doing a PhD on the second topic of Working Group 1, which is imperfect information general game playing. He's young and he's still learning a lot of different aspects. And to learn, the best way is to be close to the people who know things, obviously. So he's learning with me, but he also wants to learn with people from Maastricht about the general game playing aspect, about all different ideas that he has. So he's there at Maastricht. He's there since Monday, I think, until the end of May. So you see, he's pretty big. And I know that he enjoys a lot because he's also helping them in a reinforcement learning classes. So he's like an assistant in the classes, he's helping to assess the different exams and other aspects. He's also participating in some work they have currently, which is going to lead to different publications. So that's also a huge opportunity for him. And because he's completely outside of our network, because he's a really, really young researcher, he's improving his network, which is also something that we want. So I have no idea if this STSM is going to lead to paper, but this is not important. The goal is for him to learn, to improve his network, to help them on different aspects. And I'm sure just with that, because you are all, pretty much all of you from academic, you know that doing that is what leads to paper, to publication, to issue, to grant, to whatever. So that's what we love to fund in reality with that. So that is a true current one.
Manuel Eberhardinger.
For that one. You can say his name because it's well for me.
Manuel Eberhardinger.
Okay.
The French guy can't speak German.
He's applying. So that's a CSM that we also accepted, but he's not started. I don't remember the date.
I don't.
During the summer, I think. During the summer, he's gonna go to Japan to work with Florian Richoux on the explainable AI. So he's also working with one. On some aspects about how to use some kind of ChatGPT technology to try to understand how plays the AI done in the past. I cannot speak too much about that, but it's what he's going to do. And his goal is two things. One of them is to write a paper with Florian. He spoke about that during a long, long time, so he's really happy that we can fund that. And the second thing, he has some funding grant ID that he's explained to me when I saw him in the last event, that he cannot do it alone. He will need to have a lot of time with Florian because he's one of his main partners right now in research. And he didn't know how to go somewhere, pretty much in Japan, which is not easy, funding by something. So he's really happy that we are funding his trip to go there, and that should lead to something. But yeah. But as you can see, working group 4, working group 1 are the ones using the STSM right now. Not working group 2, and you are, most of you will be part, I think, of working group 2.
And
so
we should be used to be doing this kind of, like, it's a little bit of a weird thing, perhaps, in those other working groups to travel to do the research, but we're kind of used to doing that. So could think of this as another funding opportunity to go collect some data somewhere. Yeah?
I have a very specific question, semi-proposal. I know very well Professor Friedemann Schrenk. He's one of the big players in paleoanthropology. And he's associated with the Senckenberg Institute in Frankfurt, in Germany. But as a matter of fact, he's living in Malawi, because it's there in Malawi where he does his field work since about 40 years. So he's down there since 40. He knows everybody. He has a lot of a big network down there. He's the founder of the Natural History and History Museum in Karonga, in the north of Malawi, and so on and so on. It might be, he might be extremely useful if one would want to study Bao in Malawi. I was there 2 years ago. They play 3 versions of Bao. They play all over the country, all the time. It's the national board game. And as a matter of fact, Friedemann Schrenk already organized at the museum Bao tournaments. Also. So if one would try to do a field work concerning these variants they play and the role of Bao in society, and at what time in your life, at what period in your life you learn Bao, who teaches, and so on and so on and so on. As a traditional game, how would cost be able to finance such a thing? And how could we involve Schrenk in cost? So does he have to fill out a form and say, well, that's me? And would he represent Malawi, or would he represent Germany? What could we do?
Yeah, so the representation, the country you represent is based on what institution you are affiliated with. So if his only affiliation is in Germany, then he would represent Germany. But if he has some other local affiliation, if he has something with the museum or something like that, then he could represent Malawi in that way.
Something like a honorary curator of the museum.
Yeah, then that would probably work. Yeah. So, and the STSMs can, like the one that we have from the German guy going to Japan, you can go anywhere in the world on these. So if someone wanted to go from Europe to Malawi and go to Malawi and do this, that's possible. There just has to be in that country where you're going some institution where they're gonna quote unquote host you. So if he is part of this museum and can get a letter from the museum to host somebody to go there, yes.
But only from Europe.
Does the person have to go from Europe to somewhere else, or could it be like US to
anywhere,
Saudi Arabia?
from anywhere to anywhere. The STSM is the most open scheme that's there. So yeah, there's no limit for that.
He has a big house. He can.
Fantastic.
No problem.
But
no, for sure. This is what he does so very often, because he is for all kinds of groups of researchers who do field work down there, especially concerning environmental researches and things like that. They very often use his house as a base. He has a big house there, so he can. So it would be no problem. He would be extremely useful if one would Also, this is in the north of Malawi, so it is close to Tanzania, close to Zambia. So if you want to do something also over there, it would be really it would be a
Yeah.
big advantage.
But
And
yeah.
I should also say that the host, so someone going to Malawi, the host doesn't necessarily have to be part of cost, because the one that we did with Serbia, the host is not, correct? Yeah. So only the person who's getting the money has to be a
be
member
in
of cost. So if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to. It would be nice for us to have someone have Malawi represented, but yeah.
We'll meet him in a couple of weeks, so I can talk.
Yeah.
We need a letter from him saying that he's going to welcome someone, but except that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a very, very basic question, but I don't know anything about this, so I apologize. So when you join the cost action, you immediately also join a working group, is that I understand?
You need at least one.
At least one, and you can join multiple.
Yeah.
You can hop in and out, I presume, or I don't know.
You just choose actually.
You can choose
just
all
tick.
of them if you want.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you can choose everyone.
And then in terms of sort of what's going on, so it sounds like right now the sort of hub is that Discord server. And I'm just sort of curious about, on the Discord server, is it people sort of saying, I'm looking for, saying, I have an idea for this, is anyone interested? Is it more reports of, is it kind of a place where I could go, I'm curious if anyone has done work on this thing?
You can absolutely do
Yeah.
that there, yeah.
Yeah?
We want that. Yeah, we want that. And also, if you have some kind of proposal in mind, but you don't have enough time to do it, and you would like someone to work with you, I would love to get mail from you, because on the website I also have some place for that to disseminate, your idea, to say, okay, you are looking for someone, and if you do that, for us, we will prioritize the funding of this idea, because you came to us before, by an CSM to review. So that is something that I want. And yeah, on the Discord, you can. That's really open. You have a different channel. You can discuss with everyone.
We have every kind of activity on the Discord, from advertisements of research to asking advice to what is this, how is this, who does this, who wants to join a project. We also, it's worth mentioning, if you're not into Discord, if you're like me and prefer to have millions of emails, we do have a Google group that people are using to send information, to ask questions, to organize things. So that is also an option.
And announcements.
And announcements if you want to really avoid a direct messaging platform.
I think we're not allowed to email you directly, right?
You can email me directly.
Not
I may or may
Eric.
not answer.
Eric
Eric is not
likes
allowed to
emails.
email me directly.
Eric likes emails. If you want to send an email, send it to him.
Yeah, if you send it to me, you will have an answer for sure, believe me. But yeah, you will. When you apply, like you just did this morning, right? You will get a mail from COS saying, okay, we accept your application. You will get many mails according to the number of working group you applied. That is a global group. Plus, in one of them, I will send you a link to apply to the Discord. The link is for 7 days. If you don't click on it, you can contact one of us. We will send you another link. And after that, you have the connection with everyone. That is just a bunch of mail. And yeah, after that, it's just depend of you.
And just one other thing, I'm just sort of curious, so in terms of the database, so that seems tied in very heavily with the project on one level. Is the shaping, editing, adding to the database something that is sort of we're encouraged to somehow help with? Is that a thing that's down the line?
That's something
will
that
help
we
with?
want to explore how to do that effectively starting next week in our working group 2 meeting, because up until now, 99.9% of it has been me, and then Marco did a little bit also at one point. You put some stuff in the database at one
The
point.
database.
9.9.
You're the 0.1%.
I did 0.1%. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yet,
So we want to develop kind of workflows and best practices for doing this kind of thing, so that it can maintain a level of authority and quality. Yeah, because there is a lot of, we don't want to open it. One of our early thoughts before COS, but the Digital Looting Project, was to crowdsource information about traditional games, but that's just going to be a nightmare because there's so much garbage information out there. So we want to do it in a thoughtful way that makes sense. But absolutely, especially for someone like you who is studying East Asian games, like that's something that we really need, someone who can do that to be able to add to the database. Yeah.
And yeah, something I can add also, because you speak about the database in itself, but you have to understand that the database, as explained a little bit Walter before, was done for the 3D software. And the 3D software was, during the project, the Digital Ludem project, hosted at Maastricht. Except that Walter and I are not working at Maastricht anymore, so we don't have access. So that's annoying. So
we will soon.
Sorry?
We will soon, though.
Exactly, so that's what I'm gonna say. I recently managed to move the Ludi server, which is at Maastricht, to my institution. So it's not done right now. If you go on it, it's still Maastricht, but it's really soon. I have already a version, a local version, and that means that the database will once again be able to be updated, and that will lead to a lot more evidence, I guess. And yeah, I think it should work technically, I mean, and for the scientific side in the database, yeah, Walter, you are the one.
Hi, I'm Alessandro Rizzi from University of Milano. I'm a new member of this wonderful course since I applied yesterday and I've been accepted.
You were the 200.
Yeah.
Well, I wish we had brought a prize, but...
Yeah.
We've been so quick, it's like 10 minutes after, so... Yeah. But anyway, I work on color, and I have a national project granted that basically wants to use board games to detect young kids at the primary school in order to know if they are colorblind or not. And we also work on accessibility in general in Italy. And so I would be very glad to contribute for whatever I can contribute. We will have a table and in a Modena play. If you are planning to come, please join us. Then also we build up a study group on color in toys and games at the AAC. That is the International Color Association. And there we'll have a conference in Brazil in October. And maybe some of you could be interested in joining the study group. It's absolutely free, completely. And we're going to organize, to promote a little bit the project, we're going to organize a conference in July 18, 19, but I will confirm. July in Italy, one day will be about coloring games, and the other will be about games in general. So if you want to travel to Milano and with all the grants that you can actually use for yourself, please come and visit us, and we can organize something to promote the cost group every action. And in general, I'm very interested in this 4 group about mathematics. We are doing a lot, so we
please join the next seminar.
Yeah, well, why not?
Webinar.
And in general, if you are interested in color, please mail me, and it would be nice to collaborate. And we are also working with Marco.
Talking about announcement and different conferences, events, yeah, you are aware, and maybe not the community is not. We have a place also on the Discord channel for that, and I'm really happy to disseminate your events or exhibition, all of that, to all the network. So, and in general, you are not speaking to any kind of public, you are speaking to people who work in games, so you will get people to get your events for sure. So yeah, feel free to send me a mail, or feel free to use the Discord channel to speak about it, as you just said here, but in our channel. That should work well for you. Yeah.
Well, at first, thank you for having provided the Board Game Studies community with such an opportunity. I think that this can be really a game changer. For,
no pun intended.
Sorry?
No pun intended. Or was it intended?
This was, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Walter.
No, well.
Because, you know, when I look at Erika, I have to force myself to not speak French.
Speak French, please.
So, thank you for this great opportunity and for sharing this initiative with us. And this really is the sense of our community, I think. We have a very strong motivation toward what we do, and we know that we can rely professionally, we like each other, we respect each other, and this is really one of the strongest points of this conference. In my opinion, we can summarize just a very quick question. Do the cost action can support publications?
Yes, to an extent. It really depends, and there's a lot of flexibility, as Eric said. Theoretically, cost does not finance the publication of hard copy books. Mm-hmm. Theoretically. There is sometimes wiggle room for that. They do ebooks. They are hugely focused on ebooks at the moment, which is actually really useful, especially as university collections are slimming down on the physical books they are buying in favor of these ebooks. A lot of the funding that we've mentioned, especially STSM funding, can be used to facilitate the research, the data gathering for a journal article. I think some subventions can be covered as well. I'm not the grant person. That's Fatty Parlak and Ilaria Trusi, who's here,
No
also
problem.
does
We can
grant
figure
stuff.
it out. We can figure it out
But
together. We
I
have
think,
plenty of time.
I think we do
Well, I think
some.
one criteria, but I'm not sure, so be really careful. One criteria is that whatever you will publish has to be open source,
Yes.
Open
access,
research
open
Europe.
access.
Open source.
Will they pay for open access when that requires money?
They can.
They can.
I will not say they must,
Well,
but
of
they
course,
can.
yeah.
So,
So-
yeah.
sorry.
This is one of the reasons why they don't want to do a hardcover book, because that's obviously
Yeah,
something people
this
pay
is what
for.
I understood, but once again, yeah, as Osama said, sometimes it's possible to discuss and speak with them, in something which is not on their website, because they have people for that. And mostly, if you are going to write a book which is probably going to be read by hundreds of thousands of people, they will help you because they want their name to be on it. So they will help you. Just depends what you want to do, but that's possible.
Okay. We can figure it out, and maybe next week together with Fatih. Do the construction allow to publish on Open Research Europe?
Yes, and they really want you to.
Yeah,
They are
yeah,
all
yeah.
about that.
And also, as I was saying 2 days ago, we are all all the same people. every time we are the same people. So me, my colleagues Thomas and Michael, together with Tiago, we applied for a European Erasmus Plus project, and we should design educational material based on traditional or ancient or medieval board games to teach history or mathematics or cultural heritage. And since it's a European project, we need to interact with other European projects. I'm sure that we can find a way to interact together officially with our two projects. We are always the same people.
All of you are members of Gametable, so that should be easy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but Summer, this can be also profitable for you, according to what you said before. We are going to provide you with materials of public use.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I will say that one of the challenges early on, not just with cost, but with research in ancient board games, is when you're bringing that to the public, when you are, especially with in my case, a very, very small university museum, where we had to acquire the loans and get the materials. We did that all by ourselves, and we didn't have a cost network when we started. And taking the rules that ORIC has published, that we've published, and simplifying those down for children without education specialists is really, really hard. And that's something that your project and cost can help you do that, because we have the experts to allow that. And I hope that with working with cost, and hopefully your project as well, I will never have to simplify ancient board game rules again, because it was very, very difficult and I did not enjoy it. I'm not a game design person. That is a whole other can of worms, and I respect each and every one of you who does that, because it was mind-numbingly difficult. But we should definitely link up.
And yeah, for what you have in mind also, Cost said many times to me that they love also to put on their own website that Cost Action collaborate with any other EU project. So that means that we can also speak a lot about what you did, do a lot of publicity, not on our website, but on the Cost one, which is seen by a lot of people.
Thank you.
And we can put them up on our social media as well.
Yeah.
And our Discord groups.
Yeah. The idea is to, we promised, I was telling before to George Nuno that we promised to design 30 educational modules. Now we have 18, but we also need, this is an example, educational modules about board games and mathematics along the history. If we, my plan is to exceed a little bit the requirements so that we can prove that it's worth to invest more. And again, it's always the same community, so it's another way to bring money to us and to share among them. And one last remark, Walter, are you willing to come to Turin?
Turin? Yeah.
Okay. Again?
Again? No, I've never been there.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I've never been to
We can do
Turin, no.
something with the Egyptian Museum. Okay.
Yeah.
They have some, the famous.
Yeah, they have
papyri.
famous papyri that are very terribly photographed. So yeah, there's some stuff that needs to be done.
Something we can do together.
Yeah.
Talking about that, you let me think about something. For the first year, you saw the different places where we did some events. So that was at Wingby, Portugal, the Netherlands, Malta, Turkey, and Greece soon. So this 5-1. But one of the pseudo rules that they have in COS is that we cannot do an event 2 years in a row in the same country, because they have a lot of country. So at some point we are going to need also your institution to host our events that we pay, obviously. So we need your help also for that. So right now we still have ideas about what we can do, but at some point, with more money equal more events equal more places needed, we will need some places who could host us to the event. So thank you for that, because it's really nice. Yeah, but that will be also the case for other things. And also our events, in theory, even if it's more expensive, can be outside of the cost of it. So that can be in the US, for example, or that can be on some other place. That's also possible. Obviously, it's more expensive, which means that we can pay less people to go there. But if we have more money, maybe we'll be able to do that too. So yeah, so if at any point you think that you would like to host an event, write it to your subject, and you want to speak about your work, at the same time we can do one of our meetings, come to us, any of us. We would love to get your mail or contact.
Especially if you're in a warm country.
I was just about to say, if you want to come to Finland, you know the rooms and the place already. But we are not a warm country. But not.
Maybe in the summertime.
Any other questions from the audience?
I have 2 questions. One is what happens after those 4 years? Is that already is it then closed, or is there already a trajectory after that, which may be premature? Second, I just sent an email to Eric, and I'm still waiting for a response.
It's more a remark than a question.
It's more of a comment than a
I'm a bit
question.
busy right now, but I can answer it.
It will be paragraphs long, don't worry.
Yeah. For the first one, if you follow the COS rules, yes, after 31 October 2027, the action is over. So that means that they will not help us, not pay for everything, stuff. Except they have one scheme in which they can still help us for, I think, 2 more years if we are able to produce something. So they would love to help us to pay about collaboration with creating a new industry, a new company, working with a company, all that kind of aspect. And in that case, they can continue to help to pay for 2 more years, and also about this product. So that is a possibility. We had ideas about that, but it's still a bit fuzzy right now.
But also kind of what you kind of began the talk with is that a lot of the purpose of this is for people to develop their own projects that they can then get bigger funding for. Yes. So, whether we will continue working as a network, it might be nice to keep like a Discord or incorporate that network into the umbrella of BGS or something. I don't know. That's something that we will think about.
Something I didn't say because that's a long time ago. But when I was at the first event before the beginning of our cost action, which was speaking about the other cost action, which were pretty much over, some people there explained to me that this is a lot easier to get, I don't remember the name, but you have some kind of Marie Curie in which you can fund a lot of PhD students anywhere on the world.
You were talking about that.
Yeah, okay, that one. Apparently the success is really good for cost people because they know that we already have a network, so we are already speaking all together, and that kind of things is really great because you can do, you can fund projects on many aspects. So that, and this is exactly what we are. We are not only about AI, not only about computer science, etc. We are only on many other aspects, so we can fund some stuff like that. I don't know when we will work on that kind of thing because we need, of course, to have really, really good idea for such a funding. But that's something I have in mind somewhere. Saying, okay, I would love to work on that. So yeah, what you said 2 days ago was interesting. But
of course, we are going to stay in touch and discuss.
Yeah, I have ideas.
In the mic, because otherwise it's not in the recording.
No.
You want to say something?
I was just commenting. Of course, we are going to stay in touch, and step by step, we are going to figure out what we can do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. That just depends how your idea in reality can be expanded. So if this is an idea about working on a specific type of games at a specific time or something you are used to work, that will not work obviously for such a thing. But if we have ideas in which we can expand a lot what we can do right now and improve a lot of knowledge over, I don't remember the time, it's like over 10 years, something like that. It's a really long time, this kind of project. That would be great. And this is something in which we should work at some point, but we didn't want to work right now on it because right now we have to first understand the work of the others, communicate, disseminate what we can do before to think about the future. But yes, we will do that kind of things.
Yeah. We have to do things time by time. We don't have to take too many projects all at once and to apply.
Also, so one thing I think it might be nice to mention, because it seems like it may seem that like we're kind of figuring things out, but Summer went to an event and we have it together more than a lot of people do.
Yeah, we went to Cost hosted a science communication coordination training workshop, and on one I went to, I think 15 Cost represented. It all started when we started. We were some of the furthest along. We'd had the most meetings, we'd had the most outputs, we had a website that was functional, we had a logo that we'd created, we had Discord, we had all of these things. I mean, the only thing that, all these things that we have already, we're supposed to have by the end of the first year. So we are doing really, really well on that. So while we sound a little bit disorganized, we're actually doing pretty well on the scheme of this kind of network, which is made for huge groups networking and trying to agree something. You kind of laugh. You look at our logo and you go, they have a logo, great. That was incredibly difficult to get agreed.
Oh my God.
It took ages. And if anyone's ever bored, on my laptop I've got about 50 different drafts of logos for us. So this sounds like a silly small thing, haha. Trying to get 201 people now to agree on anything is incredibly difficult. So the fact that we've managed shows how cooperative the gaming community is and how dedicated we actually are as a group of 201 people, maybe more after today.
Hope so.
You do not look deorganized. You look perfectly on top of things, if it's reassuring to hear.
Good.
But maybe continuing on what we were discussing about funding applications, is one of the first things that we think after getting funding, right? Mm-hmm. First we jump up and down the room, then we tell everybody, and then we say, okay, what next?
Yeah.
Right? And of course 4 years pass quite fast, and many things need to be reapplied because it's rare to get it on the first time. Mm-hmm. So maybe my suggestion, more than a question, would be to try to integrate these efforts in thinking what we want to fund also in cost, which is maybe not the primary function of cost, but I don't think that the EU or the cost would be unhappy if, as side events we have, funding workshops, etc., that can range from, the gaming lab application for young people that want to do something else to, okay, how do we set up one or more molecular doctoral networks, for example, who hosts them, who knows the companies that can be part of it, etc. I think that, I perfectly understand let's first try to understand who we are and what we want. Absolutely agree. But then my suggestion would be let's not wait too much to start to think about the future, because it tends to come towards you like a truck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, there was a question over there,
There's
but perhaps you want to.
Just something I want to add because I didn't speak about that. I can just put the slide because it was a bit long. That one. That is all the deliverables that we expect to do after 4 years. So you can see some white paper, some survey, some different kind of things that we expect to do with all of you in reality. But this is not like a contract. This is not like we have to do that. It's just things that we thought at the start with Walter and some others we discussed about things that we expect to be able to do. But we have to keep in mind that this is based on what the people want and not on what we want. That's really different.
There are some mandatory deliverables, though by cost, right?
Yeah,
but
yes
not
and no. The website, for example, was you have to do it.
Yeah, we have to do like a yearly report or something like that.
Yeah, you have some reports.
Well, that's not something that
heavy.
everybody
it's
has
not
to
too
do.
Heavy.
Something, honestly, I would love to do, because I spoke a lot with Kos about that, is just over 4 years, 5 publications by working group. It should not be too hard with the number of people we are, but that's the really minimum we could do. The rest should be fine.
Thanks so much for introducing this. super exciting. I personally am like, okay, I have to pick one working group that I'm not part of because they all sound so exciting. So I like really am looking forward to being involved. I'm wondering, because you've mentioned like priorities in both in networking and also in like doing lots of projects, and those seem to be like, at least for suggesting this group to other members, sort of conflicting, like varying levels of ability to commit and that kind of thing. And so I'm wondering, like, are you trying to prioritize having like few additional members that are very active, or like casting a wide net to establish a very broad network of people doing this research who might not be as involved?
That one.
That one.
The second one. Okay, cool. So basically tell everyone I know. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ultimately, what our goal is, aside from money and projects and whatever, is to get people to do games research, because we are kind of a small community, and the more people that are doing it, the better data we have, and the more data we have, especially on the cultural heritage side of things. So we want people to be doing games research, to learn how to do it, to communicate with people. So yeah, ultimately that's the high level goal.
I mean, we want to see more pairs like Lisa and Tiago who meet at a conference and then grow these huge collaborations. Of course, we want that, but it's up to you to facilitate that. You come, you show up, and you grab somebody and you make them work with you. I have captured Walter. Oh, Walter is now my text and ask a question person against his will. But that's something that you can make happen as soon as you pop up in a Discord chat, or come to a working group meeting, or find us via email.
We had never communicated before this.
Yeah, no, I read your book. We had 2 copies of your book.
Yeah, I knew your name.
In our
I think
house.
I watched a presentation you did once for Locust Looting or something.
Yeah.
That's it. But now I'm getting texts of pictures of games in Jordan and asking what they are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes, we try to push your idea, not our idea. This is what you have to keep in mind.
Marco, you have a question?
Do publication or activities or events oriented toward the general audience or external public, not academical public, counts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be one of the.
They can,
Yeah.
They score.
Yeah.
Any kind of output, right?
Yeah. And if you can get public engagement or like external media, please, by all means.
Yeah.
That is fantastic to see.
Exhibition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we have a publication and the 2 members happen to be part of COST, but you didn't do anything for us so far. What is the benefit for you if we put in the acknowledgement, thanks to COST for helping us out and bringing us together? Is there if you publish a lot with this project, does this help, because it seems to be finite?
Yeah. Depends what by help you mean. That will not help to get more money, that will not help that kind of things. But if we want some kind of extortion, some help to get other funding from our network, we have to show that we worked. And that is the best way to show that we worked, is to have more publication, more outputs, more any kind of thing of that kind. So that will not help Gametable in itself. That will help the future of Gametable in reality, the new funding or the potential extortion.
Because it's a fairly simple thing to do. I mean, publishing all the time, it's not necessarily linked to cost, but the network is actually everybody's part of it, so you might as well say it is.
Any time that you acknowledge a specific cost action, or you usually do like cost EU and the action number, that is analyzed by the Central Cost Administration. They use a software called Meltwater, which is truly terrifying.
Which number do I need to mention?
I don't know.
The first slide.
Yeah, I have to find. I don't know if it's in the slide.
22145.
Well, go to the website. It's on the
Yeah, it's right on the website. But
I don't know if I have
if you
it.
put that,
But you shouldn't mention the number, not just thanks to cost and Eric, but you have to say
it helps to the number.
Not sexy.
Yeah, it helps to the number. That will be scraped from the internet broadly by the central cost. That is used to get more cost networks more money. Your research can be featured, and often is, on COST's website. So it's good for us, because we've shown impact, but it's really, really good for COST as a whole. Because anytime these numbers are referenced, anytime cost is acknowledged in anything, they capture that data and they're using that to shake down for more money for things like this. So if you can, do.
And maybe follow up, how close to the cost topics needs the paper to be if you want to acknowledge it?
I would say it has to be game related. Like you can't. I would say you can't put our cost action on a game about brain surgery unless you've gamified that. But if you are interacting with the game table community, even if that's Eric's emails energized you when they arrived because your Outlook made a funny ping. If it's on games and you benefited from interacting with us at all, and especially if you've joined, it's worthwhile to do.
Yeah, it's not any kind of games, these more tabletop games, less video games, but we are not saying no to that either. That can be links, ça dépend. And yeah, just as a really short story, at the really beginning, I will not say who, but contact Walter and I with a paper which has no link at all what we do. He's saying, can I put your cost action in it that this is good for you? No, because I don't remember the subject, but there was something which is super far from what we do. And no, we don't want that, obviously. We want to be serious. We don't want to. But yeah, if this is related to game or kind of thing, yeah, sure.
It's also worth noting that if you do acknowledge cost in a paper, there are specific formulae you have to follow. They are on our website. They are also on Cost's website. So if you get funding from us, for instance, or you develop your paper at the end of an STSM, there are formula for acknowledgements that you must follow that are not as complicated as they look when you first see them.
Yeah, you have the number which is there, but I think on our website you have also exactly the sentence that you have to put, just 2 sentences, copy and paste.
I'm curious, on your outputs list, I think item 3 was reconstructed rule sets. I'm sort of curious about what form that would take and what what would what is the sort of thing?
So this is something that directly comes out of the digital looting project that we were working on, where we were using AI and the Ludi software to come up with plausible, playable rule sets calculated based on the evidence that we compiled of games from around the world for these games where we have incomplete information about what the rules were. So those are AI-generated rule sets for these ancient and traditional games from around the world. And that can take different forms through cost. That can be just in the Ludi software itself. We also, in the kickoff meeting, had discussions about trying to find a game company that might want to produce some physical versions of some ancient games and use these reconstructed rule sets as the rules that they use. So there are various ways to do this. Yeah.
So for example, if I come to somebody and convince someone to actually help me with on the AI side, and I say, I know about a game, I know what it's called, I believe, I know what equipment it uses, I believe that there may be rules related to X, Y, and Z, and they agree to put it into the magical AI machine and it spits out one or more rule sets. Yeah. So one, in terms of with that data, am I sort of, I presume I'm expected to, on some level, publish or publicize that, and then that's my publication with help from that person, or however we choose to do it. And also there may be some. I'm just sort of trying to understand the nuts and bolts of that thing. Have I got a kind of a sense of how it's supposed to work? Yeah,
basically, yeah. So the way that that's basically the general idea of how that works.
And if you do something like that and you've got invested partners, you have a museum that's focusing or has an exhibit on that, to be able to go to them, hey, here's a downloadable packet where you have a paper board or a set of equipment and you can download these rules and they can be played in your museum. That's easy to do. That's actually really, really, really easy. And it's an easy output that looks great for you, helps the community, which is a major gist of cost, but also an extra kind of publication.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes left, more or less. Maybe do you want to make some closing statements or closing discussion?
You want to speak a bit more about your event next week?
It'll be online, so anyone can join. It's going to be on Friday. We're going to explore some of these ideas. We're going to talk a little bit about our plans for the training school. we're going to talk about some of the things that we talked about in the discussion that Marco facilitated the other day. Was that yesterday? I don't know. The days have blurred together. One conversation that we were having last night with some people was that this idea of editing Wikipedia is something that we can facilitate through costs, where we can identify pages that need work done and identify people that can do that, and so that we can do this in a more formalized way and in a way that it can be registered as an output, and so that people can get sort of credit for doing it for some way, because that's an issue for some people that, okay, this work is important, but how does it help you to get tenure or get a job or whatever? So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at ways that we can access the data that we have, whether that is historical documentation of chess games, games that were played by chess masters or individuals or whatever, to help figure out ways to train AIs, how that might be interesting. Maybe we could find a way to take one chess master, take all of their games, train an AI on that, and get someone, and so that you have an AI agent that's playing like a specific person. That might be really, really cool and interesting to the chess community. Maybe it's not, but maybe it is.
That's exactly why I say we need data. Yeah. What he just said is that more data we have, better thing we can do AI.
We're also playing around with an idea this summer, and Jonas and I were talking about where we can train a computer vision AI, so that you could go to an archaeological site that maybe has a graffiti game, or a museum that has a game in their collection. You can take a picture of it. It can tell you either what game it is or a range of options for what that game is, and then link to the Ludi software, and you can play it there. So we're looking at these ideas as both as academic but also kind of outreach and public engagement ways to produce some outputs. So we're going to start exploring those and anything else that comes up in the discussion in the meeting on Friday. And yeah, join us online if you're interested.
Yeah, we'll probably communicate also online of some kind of minutes or report about after the end about the main topic we got discussed. So if you cannot join online, you will all at least have that.
For all of those who enjoy reading meeting minutes.
There can be a report. So yeah. And for our next events, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about next year.
Oh, next year?
You know what I mean?
Maybe I do. So, yeah, I mean, we started planning for next year, so like Eric said, we can't have it in the countries we've had events this year, so we have started to think about where we will have events next year. I have already done preliminary, put out preliminary feelers for the Working Group 2 meeting, which, if things go according to plan, will be in Cyprus.
I was sure they would interest you.
I'm the only one that goes to Cyprus.
But they know what it is.
But it's a nice place. It's a warm country.
Depends on the month.
It will probably be, because we'll have to avoid the high archaeological season, because we'll hold it at the Cyprus American Archaeological Research Institute, which is kind of a small facility, but it's full of archaeologists in the summer, so we'll have to kind of go earlier than that. So it'll probably be February or March, but it's not that cold.
There still won't be snow.
Well, the last time I was in Cyprus in March, it did snow, which was very upsetting to me.
Can you organize those in the weekend, so it never actually overlaps with teaching schedules?
We can.
We can.
Weekends,
Yeah, no, yeah, we can do it.
We can do
We
that.
are able to.
Yeah.
You are, yes, okay. Well, that's good.
There's no kind of limit for that.
Yeah, there's no restriction to doing that. It has just been when people were able to so far has been.
I think kind of our current method has been weekend adjacent,
Yeah.
so that people they want to a day before or a day after to
You
explore.
can take some
You
time.
can stay
Yeah.
longer then. No, I understand
Yeah.
that part, but it's the, I mean, all our, sorry, yes. All our conferences are always during the week, but that means that I can do this once.
Yeah.
Because I can take 1 week out of my teaching schedule. Actually, I can't, but I take 1 week out. But if there is other meetings and you have many, and there are certain things that you would like to attend, or you can attend, or you would like to attend, then weekends would be fantastic, because most conference organizers do the opposite.
Yeah.
Because that's when they work, so they might as well do it during work time. But this would be the opposite. So if that's an option, that would be very helpful for quite a few of us.
In AI, we are used to that. We start very often on Saturday, we finish just the next Sunday. So we have the weekend, the weekend in the middle.
Yeah, that's too long. But
yeah, I know. It's just to explain to you that we are used to weekend meetings. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess thank you very much for this panel. We're very happy to host you in the conference. So thank you.
Thank you for hosting.